Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and I apologize for that echoed voice. My sound wasn't quite set up, but now it is. It is, 1st of May, YC127, and this is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, 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 guys. It is good to see you. It is the day before Fanfest. The Drifter Crisis meeting has just gone on. It's just wrapping up now. And let me tell you, some people are not very happy about it. So I have all kinds of screenshots from that meeting. There's some really interesting information, as far as I'm concerned, that got revealed during that meeting. Right now, I am outside of the Alliance Tournament Trophy Center in New Eden. So this is once a year, of course, is the Alliance tournament, usually towards the fall winter time period. I mean, not necessarily every year, but it is returned. And this location in Monarch is where all of the previous winners of the Alliance tournament get presented, all the way from the very first winner around this circle as we go to last year's winner, Tuskers, right here. So, you know, we can see 20th Alliance Tournament, Tuskers. So this is a pretty cool location. Just wanted to show it off while we were getting ready to go. But we have things to talk about. And, you know, today is our preparation day for Fanfest. The keynote is tomorrow. One of the things I do need to figure out is, do we want to start now at my normal time? And I really want to ask you guys who are here right now at the very beginning, should we start right like at the normal time, which would have been like now? Or I think theoretically I could start, like, if we started as soon as it was over. Let's see. Oh no, now would be as soon as it's over. Now would be as soon as it's over. Okay. So should we start now, or should we start like an hour from now tomorrow? Should I start in 24 hours, or should I start in 25 hours? I think that's how that works, right? We might actually want to start. If you keep asking us, you'll have no sleep. So here's the thing. I may still want to start an hour later, just to give an hour to process what's going on, set things up. Is like, that's the one thing. Like, you can get my instant reaction as soon as it's over, or I still think that giving it a little bit of time might make sense, but I think tomorrow would be good to go live right now to give that initial reaction, and you guys will, you know, I'm sure you guys will be okay with me having to set things up live on stream to show you stuff. And then Saturday, because those presentations are earlier, then, and also it's Saturday, maybe that can be a slightly, I don't know. We'll keep thinking about it. We'll keep thinking about it. But either way, today I want to talk about Fanfest, what we're going for, maybe answer some questions, talk a little bit about what happened at the Drifter Crisis Summit, while finishing the event track that we were working on the other day. Yeah. I'm open for ideas. I think that maybe starting right after the keynote, that could be fine. That could be fine. So I still need 200 more points to finish the track. So let's go ahead and start getting ready to go. Capsuleer Day, there it is. Gut reaction, short stream, longer deep dive, another stream, maybe? Maybe. Well, so the thing is that what I want to do, so, okay, here's my argument for why it should be an hour later, okay? The live stream is going to happen. I'm going to want to put on the live stream. It might not be 100% available as soon as it's done. I can't remember whether or not Twitch allows you to, like, look at a stream the second it's done and it's fine. I don't know. But we have had a lot going on. They've already streamed a couple of things. They streamed like a meeting with some of the like the content creators and stuff, where they were like showing off kind of where they're going to be talking tomorrow, you know, just testing their setups and stuff. There is actually a couple of good Twitch streams going on right now with people at Fanfest, you know, sharing what's going on and just kind of living the life there. If you want to get an idea, hey, a Sleeper Forge just spawned right in the same system with me. Perfect. And also, don't forget, guys, there are skins available right now. In fact, we go to date added. Yeah, the Catalyst Federation Federal Police skin is currently available for watching Twitch. So if you go watch any EVE Online Twitch stream for the next for 4 hours, they're going to be doing a series of these skins. I think the next one is the Thrasher. I don't remember the exact dates for it. I think you have until the 3rd maybe before the Thrasher one starts. But either way, it's going to be worthwhile to pay attention to the Twitch streams to see about the drops. There's also new police skins available for Omega packs and oh, I should have pulled that up too. We'll look at those in a second. And I do apologize for not streaming yesterday. My back ended up hurting again a lot more, and I didn't want to be like grunting and groaning in pain on stream all day. It doesn't sound like it'd be great for you guys, so instead I decided to spend most of my time with my heat pad trying to get up and going. Because obviously today, tomorrow, and the next day are the more important days. Also, just remember, we will be doing giveaways. We've got different skins made by Punch, a member of the community, who we will be doing giveaways for during the FanFest streams. But, so... Actually, let me just go ahead and get started with this event while everybody settles in. Go ahead and say hi. Tell me how you guys have been doing. And then we will jump into the Drifter Crisis panel, or like meeting, and talk about what we've learned and what happened. And why the trigger pissed. It's apparently going to be a recount. Bingo card ready yet? I've tried to work on it. Honestly, nobody's given me any ideas. There was a bingo card that that was on Reddit, but it was bullshit. I have some ideas. Hey, Nils. Well, so I have a back injury from my time in the military, so it comes and goes. The problem is that last week I lost my phone, and so I tore up my whole house looking for my phone, and that's how I made it hurt again. And so I've been just kind of trying to get it to calm down. Yeah. No, I haven't gotten a new phone yet. It's going to if I just wanted to replace my phone right now, it would cost me $380. And I had to beg you guys for food yesterday, or on Tuesday, so I don't think I'm doing that yet. There's been a couple people that have reached out to potentially help out, but yeah. It is a lot of money. And quite frankly, if I had that much money to kick around, I probably would want to use it on something else. But if I do get like a replacement phone, which I have a couple of options available to potentially work out, I might just be able to like replace a second Sleeper Forge. That probe is not... That probe is very lucky that I'm here. A second sleeper forge. Hopefully it'll still be up by the time we're done with this one. Oh, they're still going after the probe. Uh-oh. Probe, you might want to run. Maybe? Oh, no, they're going after my drones. So, yeah. We've had the stream on Tuesday did pretty well, guys. I appreciate it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I might go through and like edit it to pull out some highlights to post. Just exploring ways to get blown up. That is a good way to get... It is a way to get blown up. That's for sure. I didn't make myself a second cup of coffee, and now I'm instantly regretting it. So, might go do that too. Honestly, I have no idea how long I'm going to stream today. I've been thinking... I have been thinking a lot about the potential... the bingo card, but the problem is that I have is that, like, it looks like the content is being so split up, right? Like, oh, he just wants to salvage my Rex, and he knows my YouTube. Yay! So, like, I could put things like Eve Galaxy Conquest or Eve Valkyrie or, sorry, Vanguard or, you know, whatever on there. But, like, they all have their own presentations, too. So, I don't know, man. It's one of those things that, like, I'm trying to figure out. So what do I expect for the keynotes? First of all, you know, a fair chunk of the... Is the money from the merch store going to you mainly, or what? My merch store? Yes. I get a pretty good cut of the merch store stuff. That is correct. If you get like the invited t-shirt or the mugs or anything like that, yeah. Talk some more on the Drifter meeting. I've been out of the loop for the event. Yeah. Let me finish up this site and then we will talk about what happened. Nice. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure to take a picture of it and send it to me so that way I can show it off. This Drifter meeting actually ended up being a lot more impactful than I thought it would. You know, there was a lot of questions about what this meeting was going to be. There was a vote with decisions to be made, and there was some new information about the Drifters that that was revealed that I found pretty interesting. I don't know if I necessarily call it new information, but it's official information, which is pretty cool. What was revealed? The hierarchy and command structure, internal command structure of the Drifter forces. What's up, Random Sack? Want to talk about it? Yes. Let me finish this battleship. I should have it queued up. By drifter forces, I mean the anti-drift. No, I mean drifters. It is at Fanfest, correct. Yep, we're going to start a war. I got to get these two... Well, I got to get these two sites done, because like there's another site in system too. So if it's available, I'm going to run it. And then we can talk about the panel a little bit more. No, the players didn't get to decide the command structures of the NPCs. CCP revealed to the panel... Uh-oh. CCP revealed to the panel the structure of the NPCs. We're going to jettison all those. That wasn't that much. Uh-oh. I don't need the fireworks, I guess. I certainly don't need the structure fireworks. Sort by volume? Well, I would have to like switch it to... Yeah, that's true. Yes. Trig side. Trig side, best side. Okay, so... Where is it? Here is the Drifter Summit, the page that everybody was given at the very beginning. All of these images are thanks to the Triglavian Collective Discord, various people therein. But it says, Drifter Summit, YC127, that the delegates for each faction will prepare a proposal based on the 3 policy areas shown below. They will choose the stance for each policy which they think provides the best path forward for New Eden when dealing with the Drifter threat. After you have heard the proposals, you will vote on which faction you think has devised the best overall approach. 1. Policies regarding the sharing of Drifter wormhole technology. A. Closed. Each of the 5 Drifter wormhole factions should keep whatever they discover for themselves. B. Joint. Research efforts should be shared across the 5 Drifter wormhole factions. And C. Open. Research efforts are open sourced with the rest of New Eden. So that's question 1. How should the technology be shared? Should it be everyone for themselves? The 5 groups that get to own their holes should share with each other, or open to all of New Eden? Number 2, interventions on the hyperspace network manipulated by the Drifters. A. Revert. The Drifter interference has altered this network. We must try to revert the system to reveal the truth behind it. B. Wait. We do not understand this network. We must use our resources to observe it before making rash decisions. And C. Experiment. We must conduct destructive research to gain as much knowledge as quickly as we can. Without risk, there can be no reward. So, by the way, I gotta say, like, these options really have a like a Stellaris vibe, right? Like, oh, we've discovered this ancient thing. What should we do with it? Leave it be? Break it apart for parts? Use it for study? You know, whatever. So, but what they're saying here is that, like, the Drifters have manipulated space-time pretty significantly. From everything from attempting to attack Zarzak to the various tunnels that are being made both into and out of the Drifter hives. And so what should we do about it? Should we try to undo the damage? Should we wait to see how it works? Or should we tinker with it to see what we can do? And then the third one is, how should we manage the remaining Drifter threat? A. Pushback. The Drifters are still a threat. We must dedicate our efforts to pushing them back further. B, secure. Our own defenses and security are the priority, not their destruction. We must spend resources on our greater defenses. And C, observe. We need to better understand what the drifters are. Our resources should be spent on observing them. You'll be provided with a ballot paper with the 5 factions listed, each beside an empty box. When called upon to do so, number the boxes to rank the factions in order of your preference, with 1 being your most preferred choice and 5 being your least preferred choice. In the event of more than one faction having chosen an identical combination of policies, vote first for your faction you like more, and then put the other faction second. The single transferable vote will then ensure that your vote will still be counted towards the proposal you like, even if the first choice is eliminated. Remember, you are an individual capsuleer with your own interests and motivations. Today, you are an impartial observer with the welfare of the cluster as a whole as your primary concern. Vote for a faction based on how beneficial you feel the stances in its proposal would be to New Eden as a whole, rather than your own personal feelings about one faction or another. Okay, so to summarize, basically what happened was each of the 5 delegations. So there's there's people representing the Amar, people representing Mimitar, Caldari, not Galente. Galente got left out. Edencom and Trig. And so each of them, as a faction, gets to decide what their individual proposal is. And then the community of people at the meeting, everybody there, gets to vote to which of the 5 proposals get to be the correct proposal, right? So each of these 5 groups get to decide whether or not they want to go ABC, 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 and they create a cohesive 3-part plan. And then people have to vote which one of those 5 sets of plans they want to vote for. Okay. So what we saw in the vote, hold on. What we saw in the vote was basically everybody agreed that the hyperspace network needs to be experimented with and the drifter threat has to be pushed back. That was agreed on by all different empires, right? With Edencom and the Minmatar being the only groups that felt that it should be open research instead of joint research. So open for everyone rather than exclusively shared with others that have, almost like a quid pro quo, right? Like, the Amar have their own research that they've done in the Drifter Hole. So the Trig can share with the Amar and the Amar can share with the Trig because they both have something to offer, right? Whereas an open research would open it up to everyone. Galente, Pirates, Upwell, whatever, right? Now, what's interesting about this... Oh, I have the Trig statement. What's interesting about one more thing that I want to point out before we continue this conversation is I feel like there's another piece to this that might be influencing stuff, which is from a moment that is known as the Kayanoke Plague. So in 2019, or I think it was 2019? 2017? 2017, I think. There was a plague. So there is a plague, and we can talk about it more later or whatever. I'm just trying to summarize it. But the idea was that... Actually, no. Was it 2020? It was 2020, right? Wait. No, because this is 2018. Wow, this predates COVID. Anyway, so the idea is that there's this prion in the Kayanoke pit that was suddenly started to show up in different places, and so there's this crisis where this plague was spreading throughout New Eden, and so that was kind of the theme of the Drifter or of the of Fanfest that year, right? And in the end, the players of that ARG, they hired a whole troop to run this game where there were multiple stations throughout all of New Eden, throughout the Harpa Fanfest Center, and people had to go around and collect coins, and then those could be used for votes in the end as they attempted to develop a cure. And then there was a decision, much like now, as to what to do about it. And so in the end, there was the Hope for All Act, right? Which basically, in the end, they decided to open up the research to everyone. And that just kind of solved the Kainoke plague. And on the one hand, like, it makes sense as a resolution. Like, okay, well, we've all collectively worked towards this cure. You know, the plague is a problem for everyone, so we're going to release this cure for everyone. But that also pretty much ended that thread completely. And so I know that there's a lot of people in the EVE universe that kind of walked away from that feeling it was a bit lackluster. So I wonder how much that might influence these decisions, especially because these open decisions feel very reminiscent of that. Okay. So either way, the point is we can see that, you know, Amar, Caldari, and the Triglavians all wanted to keep the knowledge and the technology that is being developed from these drifter wormholes internal to those who are putting in the work to get the drifter wormholes. However, Edencom and Minmatar opted to make it open and available to everyone. Then, when the vote went out to the public about, or the everybody who's there, as to which of these proposals they would want to win, what's interesting is that Edencom won so far. Now, allegedly, there is a recount going on because these are close, but what that means is that one of the groups that had some of the lowest amount of support has now won the vote. And there's a couple of weird things about that. First and foremost, from an in-game perspective, remember, this actually gets read not, like, you can read this not as Amar, Caldari, Edencom, Minmatar, and Trig, but you can go Concord, 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 Trig, right? Like, that's just what they are. Can I sell these somewhere nearby? Yes? Uli. Let's just go to Uli. And so that's a little suspicious, right? But also out of game, like, the people who were just at this meeting were able to vote. Like, the delegates that were at the meeting were chosen by CCP based on people's activity. Like, if you were both at Fanfest and but both at Fanfest and a big time person during this whole crisis stuff, that's how you got invited to be a member of the delegations, right? So those people are invested in their own groups, etc. However, the vote was, I believe, for everyone that was in attendance. So anyone who is there is able to contribute, even those who are not one of these 5 empires or one of these 5 groups. And that is the big thing here. Basically, they were like, hey, public, would you like this information to be shared publicly, or would you like it to be held in reserve to those who put in the work to have it? And of course, the public decided to side with it being shared publicly. And I feel like that's a bit suspicious, isn't it? It is exactly. There is a certain role-playing portion of this where it's like, it almost feels very much like what the Galente did to Caldari, too. It's like, we're going to have a fair and natural vote in which the people who have put in a quarter of all of the effort combined during the first phase, who is the most successful at fighting back the drifters during the second phase, who has, in spite of internal disagreements, have had people go out and help the other empires exclusively in trying to defeat their own drifter holes. That group has been completely sidelined. Oh, thank you so much for your opinion, Triglavian Collective. We're now going to have a vote with the general population about whether or not they think that you should have it or that everyone should have it. Oh, look at that. We voted that you must now share all of your information with everyone else. And the Triglavian Collective currently, the supporters of the Triglavian Collective, ain't fucking having it. They are pissed. So from the Triglavian Discord, we have, let's see if I can pull it up. We are Kybernauts. This is, so pre-vote, we speak for the consent of the Kybernaut clade assembled in communion militant against the ancient enemy Asdaja and the detached Kybernauts in playful communion with the Sisters of Eve. We submit the following observations of reflective communion for the convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle. Extirpation of the ancient enemy Asdaja remains constant priority. Direction of destructive examination of Asdaja relay networks proves Istana. Unbounded casting of Asdaja data is posh lost flow against the noema of proving. The unfit shall not receive glorification. Reflective communion and winnowing of the discourses shall lead to metaxy in advancing time. So, what this is basically saying, remember this is players now writing their own version, and of course this is the same. This is actually the same guy, Sias, who did the one that we read yesterday. What he's saying is that this is the Triglavians' position, right? The extirpation of the ancient enemy Asdaja, the destruction of the drifters, is absolutely paramount. Yes, however. And the the direction of destructive examination of Asdaja relay networks proves Istana. So, examining the relay networks in a way that could prove destructive but informative is okay. So that's the experiment option for number 2, right? And then finally, unbound casting of Asdaja data is posh lost flow against the noema of proving, which is a really good point, which is like, you know, giving away the information to others and like making it be mandatory for everyone goes against the very concept of proving, which is against like the Triglavian Collective. Now, there have been times in which the Triglavians, once something has been proven, then it becomes collective, right? Like with a lot of the Triglavian ships, once they've passed proving, then they were put out for availability for everyone. But this is not, none of this is proven yet. This is all extremely experimental stuff. So having everybody have access to it in the purpose, it goes kind of against the very nature of proving. It is unproven technology that we are sharing with, at best, we could say unproven allies, right? Which is very dangerous. No. Oh, is this the translation? This is the translation. Never mind. I thought these were 2 different statements. You're right. This is the translation down below. I thought this was their second statement. Destroying the drifters remains our highest priority. Experimenting with drifter hybrid network to gain additional knowledge is a wise course of action. We are against the sharing knowledge with those who have not successfully participated in the fight against the drifters. So this is actually one of those interesting ones, and I'm just going to go point this out towards the beginning just to get it out there, because in a lot of ways, like I pit Edencom and the Triglavians against each other, but with the way that the decisions are being made, like it's either joint or open, right? Even the Triglavians decided to go with joint. So they're not sharing it with Edencom. This is about whether or not it's shared with people that had nothing to do with the wormhole occupation at all, right? Galente, Pirates, Upwell, Evermore, etc. So, you know, I personally feel like as a pro Triglavian person, like the concern would be that if all of this information, if all of this technology, if all of this results gets just handed over to Edencom, that they will use it against the Triglavians. There's no in a world in which the drifters are removed as a threat, the only remaining reason for Edencom's existence is to thwart the Triglavian collective. And, you know, in a broader sense, Concord, which is all of the four empires, do actively work against the Triglavian collective. So providing support to the empires long term, beyond just what it takes to destroy the drifters, could, like, there's nothing stopping Edencom from then using that against Pochfin, which I think would be the biggest concern, right? So yeah, it is mostly about sharing it with the Galente from a metagame perspective. So, but the point of the matter is, regardless of the details of this whole matter, the point of the matter is that because the vote was made by people who weren't like major participants in the wormholes, and they decided to share it with people that were not active participants in the wormholes, the Triglavian Collective Discord has largely revolted from this opinion. I haven't looked very closely recently. I haven't looked like within the last 5 minutes or whatever on the Discord, but last I saw, many of the higher level people within the Triglavian Collective have decided that they are not going to support this decision. We're going to be non-signatories of this policy agreement. But furthermore, this could very well be the straw that breaks the fragile agreements that have been forming, right? Because, like, there has been, you know, some diplomacy between various Concord member states and the Triglavian Collective over the years, right? It's cropped up here and there, and in fact, like I said, there have been debates, and there have been people within the Triglavian Collective who have felt that we should support the other four members in their efforts to secure their drifter wormholes, because the ancient enemy Azdaja and its destruction is the #1 priority, right? Seems weird for a bunch of empires to make a decision democratically when their own societies don't work that way. Well, Concord does, though. So, anywho, we're going to have to keep an eye on this, because basically, however you feel about this result, and like I said, they are doing a recount or whatever, however you feel about this result, as far as the vote goes, the way that this result was conducted, the way that this vote was conducted by CCP, and ergo as a proxy by the Sisters of Eve, has been very unsettling to pro-Triglavian people. And so while there has been some discussion and there has been a lot of energy towards maybe helping out with the other people outside of the Triglavian Collective, I feel like this is the kind of thing that could galvanize the pro-Triglavian group against others. Now, where this is going to go in the game, like, this is completely uncharted territory, because this isn't even something that CCP is doing. These are players that are mad. So we'll have to see what happens with the Triglavian Collective, and we will be reporting on it and covering it as time goes on. And if anybody has information from inside of the Triglavian folks or anywhere that they want to contribute to the discussion, please do so. But I'm just trying to get across what is happening and why it's being seen as such a big deal, right? Oh, there's a new announcement. Oh, that's the same one. That's the same message. So as of right now, the pro-Triglavians are in disagreement with the major with the major agreement being made at the there's some funny post-it feedback notes. More trig. They have a thing that says, what is your dream future update? More trig, Alliance officers and hangars, more bookmark folders. Oh, more bookmark folders online and personal wallet divisions. We're such nerds. But the interesting stuff that we got out of this is actually, in my opinion, on this panel. This page, this is the big payoff for me. Here we go, guys. For the first time ever, we have the internal military structure of the Drifter forces, the Vigilant Tyrannos' command structure. So here we see, from the very beginning, we have Apollo and Artemis, which were the first two we ever saw. Those are listed as primary Tyrannos military body, with the second set of drifters that we saw, Orion and Cassandra, being observatory responses. So as Apollo and Artemis's were beginning to interact with stuff, especially with the Jovian observatories, then Orion and Cassandra got added in to be support fighters for the Apollo Tyrannos, which is correct. Like if you go and look at what they like their descriptions and stuff, that is what it says. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it doesn't actually say it. I can't pull it up that easily. So then we also see, apparently Tyrannos Typhon is the Abyssal Commander. I don't know, I can't remember when we actually saw them in the universe. Probably, I imagine it was related to the, I think Tyranno Typhon was part of the Drifter Crisis, or the Abyssal Battlefields, if I remember correctly. We have the Pochfin division with Tyrannos Navarchos as the Pochfin commander, with Metis and Siphiso as patrols, and Agreus and Orpheus as normal patrols. So Metis and Siphiso, I'm pronouncing some of these wrong, those would be the ones with the drifters. All drifter names are based off of Greek. All drifter names are Greek. Where Agreus and Orpheus are the non-doomsdaying battleships. We know about Hakanta Tyrannos. Hakanta Tyrannos was the guard of the Drifter Hive and now patrols within the Drifter Hives. Polymos Tyrannos is the New Eden commander. We've heard of him before as one of the lead commanders. And of course, Tyrannos Tecton is their master builder, who showed up during the Drifter Hive, or during the siege events, and then also was inside of the Drifter pickup sticks before that got transformed into the new Nexus sites. And also the Tecton is running the not the destructive scrutinizer, but the Dreamer. Basically, during the Drifter invasions that was just happening, like when the systems were being invaded, the Tyrannos Tecton was running the main building in the final site, the Resolution site. Also, within the Drifter holes, we now have the labyrinths. Inside the labyrinths, we have Minos and Ladon as the labyrinth defense. Is the lore of them being Greek something like drifters have chosen, or they are Concord designations? This is their names. One thing to remember about drifters are unlike any other rat in the game, in the fact that, like, with a normal rat, the name of the rat and the type of the rat are the same thing, right? So, like, whatever. With the drifters, these are two different things. There's the pilot and there's the ship, right? Which is why I can't just look up the description of one of these drifters really easily, because there is no rat type. There's no rat type of Apollo Tyrannos, or Artemis Tyrannos. There is a Drifter Strike battleship as the type that is being piloted by the pilot Apollo Tyrannos, which is different than basically all other rats. So these are entities that are flying ships to do roles. Now, the fact that they have the different names for the different roles has always been a bit confusing, because so these guys are artificial intelligence theoretically, but also, yeah, Nyko, they're much closer to us, except for there's only one Ashtarothi running around in a ship, whereas there's multiple Apollo Tyrannoses running around in ships. In fact, you can be on grid with multiple Apollo Tyrannoses at the same time. I've been on grid with 2 Hakanta Tyrannoses just the other day. But that makes sense because they are a rogue artificial intelligence. There's nothing limiting them from having multiple instances going on. So the question then is whether or not these guys are like designations. Like, is Apollo Tyrannos this because this is the role they're being given? Or is Apollo Tyrannos an entity that has been assigned this role? Does that make sense? Right? Like, is this Scylla Tyrannos? Has Scylla Tyrannos existed in the construct? And it's like, hey, Scylla, your job, go into the abyss. And so now Scylla goes into the abyss over and over and over again. Or is it, hey, every single one of us that goes into the abyss, you are the Scylla Tyrannos. That's that designation. That's that role. Now, Tyrannos is important because Tyrannos, where do these names come from? Is these are Jovian names, right? The Second Jovian Empire was run by a group that was known as the Tyrants. So one of the theories that I've always had is that these names that the Drifters use are actually the names of the real tyrants from the Second Jovian Empire. That the Second Jovian Empire had characters, or had people, individuals that were the head of their various enclaves that became the Council of Tyrants. And because the Jovians had Greek nomenclature, each of them had names of like Greek gods and stuff. So you have Apollo and Artemis and Orion and Cassandra, and these were like the heads of the tyrants. And because those names existed, that's why the Drifters have started to copy those names. But that's just my personal theory, right? We don't actually have any information about that. We just know that the Drifters are copying the names, they're using the nomenclature of Jovian style. The Trig even say this, right? They originally identified the Drifters as being Second Jovian Empire of the Chamber of Tyrants, but then later figure out that these guys aren't actually who they say they are. These guys aren't actually the Chamber of Tyrants, or at least if they are the Chamber of Tyrants, they don't act like the Chamber of Tyrants, they don't look like the Chamber of Tyrants, and they don't come from the same locations as the Chamber of Tyrants. Is the other calling himself Zeus? Is it Zeus? Or would it be Jupiter? Wouldn't it be Jupiter? Now I can't remember. Is Zeus Greek? I guess Zeus is Greek. Jupiter's Roman. You're right. You're right. I'm so dumb. Thank you. Carry on. My brain did like the double switch, you know? Have you ever done that? Where it's like, oh yeah, I need to add 3. And then you instead subtract 3 because you're trying to like convert it wrong. Yeah. Kind of like that. Yeah, so, but we don't have a Zeus Tyrannos, but we do have like, one of the things that has happened is, if it's a planet, it's Roman. Okay, good point. Well, there's no Pluto Tyrannos. No. Over time, a lot of the Drifters we've been getting have been titles, right? Like That's true. Jupiter is where the word Jovian comes from. Round and round we go. Oh my god! Yes, but it is a name. Like it comes from that same nomenclature type, okay? Oh my god. Oh my god. Y'all make covering this stuff live so hard. Hold on. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Hold on. This is cool. Okay, timeline in brief. Let's see. So 3,100 years ago, tyrant faction Mycobor founded the Second Jovian Empire. We did know that. That's what we were just kind of talking about a little bit. And then 2,000 years later, the Stasis Enclaves relocate to Anoikis prior to collapse. So between that, in that 2,000 years there, that 3,100 to 1,100, that is the Shrouded Days. Somewhere in that time period is the Shrouded Days. Okay? Then on YC127 in March, so 2009, the Salient incident, which means that... so that's when the Isogen 5 caches were detonated, and it caused the big explosion, which opened up Anoikis, and it's known as the Apocrypha event. It's the Apocrypha expansion. It's the opening of the wormholes, and in theory, it's what damaged the star W477-P, which was one of the stars that was used by the Talican to develop Anoikis. And then... in YC113, encounters with figure directly controlling sleeper drones. Man, I need to look into what they're referring to there. I mean, like, there is some stuff involving that, but I want to know exactly what they're talking about with this event. We should go look into that. And then YC115, 116, Highland Tukos encounters Drifter Fleet and Readout Hive, right? That's that final message from Tukos that we've talked about before. And then Caroline Star, Shattered Systems. So Highland Tukos, wait. So so Highland Tukos found the Drifter Fleet before Caroline Star, before the systems shattered, which makes sense. I mean, there were people that were able to access this stuff, like the Sisters of Eve being able to access Thera before we were able to find it. But I don't know if that necessarily changes anything per se about my understanding of the situation, but that is an interesting thing to point out, that it's almost certain that Highland Tukos was destroyed before. So like the Drifter, okay, the reason why this is important is because prior to this, I would have thought that Highland Tukos, hold on, we'll step into this. Today is going to be a lot more chaotic than normal. There's very little preparation because we're kind of winging it a little bit. Oh yeah, this is why my desktop audio was on earlier and why you heard an echo of the thing. Sorry.
This disturbing recording was recently acquired by the Scope, and despite DED protests, we believe that the public has the right to know.
This is Helen. Scout vessel, a wreckage alarm. There's an emergency. into an uncharted hundreds of these signals, but we for as long as we can notify the DED. We may be facing a possible major. More and more ships have been arriving at this enormous structure. Detected and it is possible that things to
It has been confirmed that the person speaking is indeed Helen Tukos, former employee of Eifer & Company. The date of the recording is still unknown. A spokesperson for Eifer claims a search and rescue has already been organized in partnership with the Sisters of Eve. They are offering reward for information leading to the whereabouts of Helen Tukos and his crew. Officials are urging the population to stay calm as the footage is investigated further. This is Lena Amber, reporting for The Scope.
So this video came to us, technically, we had already seen Drifter battleships in K-Space, but we had not been able to go inside of their Drifter wormholes. However, if the timeline that they just gave is true, if the timeline that's on that paper is true, then that means that this would have been the very first time that anyone in New Eden had seen Drifter battleships, in theory, right? Because this would have been before the Caroline Star event. It would have been before the Circadian Seekers, Audithysian Lancers start to show up. Now, like I said, we knew that they were exploring different things, and we can hear in here that he says that he's entered into an unknown wormhole. So, yeah, that's very interesting, and it might be worth going back and looking at our stuff when it comes to like the timing of when the guy, because there's a mysterious person from Eifer & Co. that was found and then arrested and questioned, and there's some other stuff too. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and like see if this jiggers up our timeline at all. But yeah, and then there is also this video.
Footage has started pouring in following the sudden and still unexplained opening up of wormholes leading to uncharted systems. As the fragmentary information from explorers starts coming together, it looks like there are multiple systems containing enormous hive-like structures similar to those reported by the late Helen Tukos. These hives are surrounded by sleeper enclaves filled with bodies. It's not clear if all the structures were built together at the same time, or if hives were built later in an effort to harvest the corpses contained within the enclaves. The body of Helen Tukos was discovered and examined by Lucas Raholan while taking part in an ICAME-led expedition into wormhole J174618. This location has also been confirmed as the one seen in the final broadcast made by Tukos. While J174618 and the other systems all contain formidable drifter presence, there is still no sign of the massive armada seen in the Tukos recording, and that is certainly a matter of great concern to all the people of New Eden. This is Lena Amber, reporting for The Scope.
See, I've always thought that this was the force that was supposed to invade Amar, but then that got cut off because of the bugs that were involved in that whole thing. But this is suggesting that that's not necessarily true. This whole thing kind of like that invasion force could possibly. So there is some reports from Tukos, like when we get the messages from Tukos that seem to be internal to like after he was captured, that talks about the drifters being disoriented or not prepared for what is happening. Because one of the biggest questions has always been, did the drifters cause the Caroline Star explosion, right? They very well could have. The Jovians were not actively observing W477 TAC-P at the time of explosion. So it could very well be that the drifters went there and kind of triggered the final response of Caroline Star in order to allow them to come out. However, there is some stuff about how, you know, things are happening that the drifters were not really ready for, and they seem to be scrambling to catch up. It's going to be worth going back again to that timeline of 2014, 15, 16 to see when these things happen, to see what they might be referring to, because this seems to lead a credence to the fact that the drifters were preparing to invade before Caroline Star happened. So, see, we're already getting information out of this, which is pretty cool. Next, drifter battleships enter New Eden as observatories deteriorate, I assume is what the last thing says there. And that's 2017 February. So this is when we now start to get that information about Highland 2 costs and such. And then August, YC117, drifters assassinate Amar Empress Jamil in Safazan. In YC118, Ascension Alpha clone tech based on drifter SOE research released. In YC120, 2018, damaged drifter fleets emerged from fights with Triglavians. We've talked about that. YC121, blackout drifters assault nullsec, abduct baseliners, establish. I don't know what the rest of this says. I really wish I had the rest of that sentence. New picture of the slide is up. Abduct baseliners in mass. Yeah, and we don't know why they're abducting baseliners in mass, although it is worth noting that, like, after this event in the in June, that's when we start to see a lot more drifters, but those drifters utilize technology that is less powerful. They don't have primary strike weapons, etc. If we go to EVREF, I think we can go drifter. Can we search for drifter? Yeah, we can see. This is the original. Concord analysis of this battleship has been hampered by advanced hull shielding. The propulsion system is unfamiliar, but tentative theories suggest that the vessel somehow directly interacts with the fabric of space-time while moving. The standard weapon systems of the ship appears to be semi-autonomous and effective against a range of targets. DD contact briefings suggest the free-floating turrets are a secondary weapon, with an extremely dangerous and primary weapon held in reserve against the ships that the commander considers a significant threat. But if we go Drifter Frontline Battleship, Drifter Raider Battleship. The Drifter Raider Battleship says, yeah, Concord analysis of the battleship has been blah, 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 blah. Drifter Raider battleships are among the forces sent by the Vigilant Tyrannos to continue their war against the Triglavians in the collective domain of Pochvin. These battleships are relatively lightly armed and lack a primary strike weapon. They remain a dire threat to the unwary. But I thought there was another one that basically talks about, do we know how the Drifter Doomsday weapon works? No. I mean, mechanically, it fires when the overshield is broken. But they used it on Jamil without the overshield being broken. So we don't know if that's an actual requirement or not. What tech would you give players if you did harness Drifter tech? I have a theory about what the expansion is. We'll get to that in a little bit. Recon? Man, I thought there was something. One of these descriptions, if I remember correctly, talked about how they've clearly started like mass producing the battleships, and therefore they're not as powerful as they used to be. Can't find it. Yes, do not forget to like the stream. Directional AoE weapons for destroyers. Yeah. No. Let's not, please. Impaired drifter battleship? Upon initial examination, the ship exhibits signs of recent battle damage and the super weapon has been disabled. I don't know. Either way, whatever. Oh, 07. All right. So, I will... Okay, so what am I expecting for tomorrow? Tomorrow, like, for the opening ceremony and for a chunk of the keynote, realize that, like, a fair chunk of the presentation is going to be what I like to call a victory lap, right? Where they're going to go over everything that's happened in the last year and why it's awesome. You know, they're going to try to sell us on, you know, what's been going on, tell us the story, get people caught up, give us cool numbers that talk about how cool their stuff has been, etc., etc. So then they're going to talk more about like the newer stuff, and probably in the end show us a trailer, probably twice. What is going on? Could Caroline Star be related to the precursor tech that the MR tested and fried a system with? No. Those were... So, the Caroline Star event occurred in 2015. The Amar tech was actually reverse engineered Triglavian tech. So, during the Triglavian invasions, the system of Arshat was taken over by the Triglavians, but then that effort was actually thwarted by Edencom, and Edencom managed to secure the system of Arshat, leaving behind a stellar transmuter, which that is what the MR were able to reverse engineer in order to make the stellar transmuters that they deployed into Turner, Egmar, and Vard. And then, of course, Turner's transmuter blew up. That was the thing that the MR tested and fried a system with. So that was Triglavian technology, not Drifter technology. Caroline Star was allegedly going to blow up eventually. One of the things that we could listen to today, if we wanted to, we could listen to Inheritance. That probably would be a good thing to do today, but that's a longer message. That's a longer audio recording. So we'll probably do that in a little bit. God damn it. What else would release this much energy? So the idea is that, yeah, Inheritance explains what happened with Caroline Star. We'll cover that in a little bit. So I guess what I'll just say is my theory about the summer expansion. Malik and I were talking about this. Yeah, Salient Incident indirectly caused Caroline Star. But the point is that it could very well be that the drifters traveled to W477 TAC P, maybe even through the Anoikis network, in order to finish the job and cause the detonation to happen. But we don't know that for sure. So what kind of technology could come from this? I mean, obviously, drifter ships, drifter weapons could be part of this. How CCP could do that? Yeah, Salient was the YC127 thing. How CCP could do that? There's lots of different ways. You know, drifter ships are shield-based. They have the Doomsday. You could theoretically tie the Doomsday. You could just remove the Doomsday completely if you wanted to. At that point, you basically have Caldari ships. You know, good shielding, snipey, fast, but lightly armored kind of ships. And that's kind of the drifter ships. very much the opposite of the Triglavians. Armor, closer range, ramping damage. I think that they can do this. Caldari ships are fast. Have you ever fought a Kestrel? Like, yeah, some of the best, like, fast, kitey ships end up being Caldari missile boats in PvP. Now, obviously, Mimitar are also extremely good at, like, Mimitar are faster, but shields are already going to be faster than armor. So, lightweight shield ships are going to be fast and kitey a lot of the time. But my point is that, like, a sniper corps is going to be, like, you're not tanking your sniper corps. It's going to be fast and it's going to be long range. Anywho, so I think, at least in part, like, the bigger thing about the drifter technology, there's nothing in the set that's like, oh yeah, should we develop drifter ships? Like, the drifter ships aren't the technology that everyone has been interested in. The thing that they're interested in is the drifter's ability to manipulate and control space-time. So, for instance, one of the things that CCP has talked about a lot in the past and kind of hummed and hawed about in the past is, what if you had a device that you could anchor on a wormhole to help keep it open for a longer period of time or something? You know, what if you had more ability to influence your space? So I think that a lot of this might come into new ways for nullsec to be able to customize their space, as they have with, like, mercenary dens and with the because, like, the thing is that the whole idea of the nullsec update with Equinox was the idea, like, if you go way back in CCP talking about this stuff, the thing that they had, mobile tie-dye beacon sounds like the worst idea I have ever heard. Punch, you're a good friend of mine. I'm just going to pretend like you didn't say that one. Yeah, a device to delay local and K-space would be pretty cool, except for the problem is that merely having it become delayed exposes that something's going on. So I'd rather have a device that provides local and have delayed local in Empire in nullsec be the default. But either way, the point is that, like, the ability to customize your space, what they referred to as terraforming nullsec, was where they were going. That's what they referred to it prior to announcing the Upwell, you know, the Equinox stuff. And I guess my question is, do we agree that Equinox, as we know it, is terraforming nullsec? I don't think so. I think it's exploiting the terrain that's already there, right? Because, like, Equinox stuff is reliant on what resources are already in those systems, be them power or personnel or whatever, right? And so I feel like the idea of terraforming, the idea of being able to make changes to local space-time topology in a way that they have always been teasing with Triglavian, you know, stellar transmuters. You know, I've always said, like, well, what if you could have whatever ore you want, but it has extra wormholes? So yes, like, the ability to, like, choose what type of ore you have in your systems is a kind of terraforming, as they were thinking about. But the question is it enough? And I don't really think so. And I think that mercenary dens is potentially a small hint as to where we're going. Where mercenary dens have two things. One, it is a deployable in the universe that causes sites to spawn, right? In this case, sites for their one person or whatever. But if you wanted to create, like, a mobile deployment thing that allows players to put out their own missions, right? Let's say I want to, because this is something that CCP has said that they want to do. Let's say I want to make an opportunity system that the public can access. right? Right now, I can make an opportunity that says, I want you to turn in Veldspar to me, and I will pay you your Veldspar, or I'll pay you the X amount for that Veldspar. And anyone who's in the Convocation of Empyreans can turn in that Veldspar in any of our offices, and they get paid out via the opportunities. But what if, as the Convocation of Empyreans, I want to offer an opportunity for everyone to be able to turn in Veldspar to me? The question then becomes, how would they do that? Oh, well, okay. Malik's correction notwithstanding. How would they do that? And what if there was a deployable that you could put out that would function as that kind of, as a turn-in point? Or what if you wanted to make player-built missions, right? You want extra missions in nullsec. So now you can put down deployables, and those deployables actually provide content to the people that interact with it. Yeah, and this is how they test tech. This is how they release stuff. So I think that a lot, what could come out of this is new kinds of deployables that would allow us to shape the universe, perhaps create certain weather effects, but more importantly, create different kinds of content for people to engage with, different opportunities a la mercenary dens, right? In the same way, mercenary dens also influences that the anarchy within the system, and that anarchy has different effects, both good and bad. So the idea is that that's just one example, and all of this drifter tech with destructive scrutinizers and hyperlink connections and warden links and that they've been dealing with, when you take those concepts and you put them into player hands, you could give them tools that allow them to do whatever crazy shit that they want, right? So I think that that's one of the pieces that could come from that. That the technology is more about ways to sculpt space-time than it is about just drifter battleships, right? Because drifter battleships, I would say, unless somebody can come up with something, right now the concept of just introducing drifter battleships are a little bit boring, right? There has to be something interesting about them, and the only real interesting thing about them would be the Doomsday, which that will be a gimmick of some kind. But like, that's not, I just don't feel like that's the thing to bite on, you know? So the point is, I like to say, my prediction for tomorrow is that the next expansion is the content expansion. CCP has been coming up with new ways to deliver sites, experimenting with different kinds of sites. This entire Drifter Crisis has been experimenting with all these different kinds of sites, using home fronts differently, using tractor beams differently, introducing new kinds of modules, introducing new mechanics into different kinds of sites. You have to bring a thing from somewhere else in order to make this site do something else. Like, these are all concepts that have been slowly introduced over the course of the last year or two. And we know, like, if we go all the way back to 2020, like, CCP was working on foundational stuff back then. And we've seen over the years as that stuff has begun to percolate and come into reality, and we've worked up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs that CCP Hilmar discussed and demonstrated all that time ago. And like, it's very possible that we're getting to the kind of they've finally finished the outlines of things, and now it's time for them to introduce new sites, new opportunities, new exploration sites, new combat sites, new whatever. Because like, when this Drifter Crisis is over, a lot of these sites are theoretically going to go away. It's going to make way for new things to be able to be brought in. It will give Drifter Doomsday weapon, but we'll use Plexus ammo. There is a way to do a Drifter Doomsday because it is such a gimmicky thing. It's only one shot. So theoretically speaking, you could make it worthwhile, especially if the Drifter... like, if a Drifter battleship costs 3 billion ISK, then the fact that you have a Doomsday that can do one blap is only so useful, right? Especially if that one blap requires somebody to break your overshield. So I think that we're going to see just a general content update where we see more things delivered on the things that they've been working on, where it's things like the new effects on structures, you know, and I personally like the fact that they're doing an entire panel on ship balance. I think that it's time to like kind of take stock in what we have. I think CCP has done a great job in rebuilding the foundations, and then building up a few new interesting pieces in things like Havoc and Equinox and whatnot. And it might be time for payoff. And new tech would be something that would be shareable. That's correct. It's time to give the Kestrel an updated model. That's possible. I think that Yanyong ships would be actually way better, like just the design wise, like what they did with Yanyong ships in. For those of you who do not know, in Eve Echoes, you can actually get Yanyong ships, and the way that they work is they have an optimal range. Now, with the Trig, if you go at all past the optimal range, it shuts down. With the Yanyong ships, the closer you are to optimal, the more damage it does. And as you move away from optimal in either direction, it swiftly falls off. So it's about staying directly on optimal, whereas like the Trig are about staying well within optimal. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that, like, the other thing is that, remember that historically, summer expansions of the two have been more maintenance than big thing, right? Like, Uprising and Havoc were both winter expansions. Winter expansions are the big game-changing ones. Things like Viridian and Equinox were summer expansions, which you might say, oh, Equinox was extremely impactful. No, actually, I would argue that Equinox was not extremely impactful. Equinox was the setup, was the pre-patch for, what was the winter expansion? I guess Revenant, right? No, was it Revenant? Are we still in Revenant? Is it really that far behind? Has it only been that long? Was Revenant after Equinox? Am I missing 2 expansions? Or is that right? What is time? Yep, you went Equinox then Revenant. Yeah, so I would argue that Equinox was the pre-patch to Revenant, because most of the features of Equinox weren't mandated and weren't fully turned on until Revenant. They was just designed to kind of get the ball rolling. So I wouldn't necessarily like remember. So remember, this is a summer expansion. So the chances are is it's going to be a broader expansion and more of a administrative expansion than a like the big one expansion. So it'd be a great time for a whole bunch of like new content, new sites, balance pass, you know, all the hits. I think that they've spent a lot of time building up a lot of tech, and it's time for that to pay off. Yes, almost all of the major outlines of the summer expansion are almost certainly already decided. We may not get the rewards from Revenant right away, though. We might be able to just work towards it. Maybe there'll be a new Shadow War. Probably not, just based on the decisions that... The fact that they decided it today lowers the chance of it being a Shadow War-like thing. There's also a fair chunk that, like, CCP may not have actually fully decided some of those details until today's decisions. Obviously, they know what's coming, but not necessarily the texture of how it's coming. They'll give us a door. The door!
To get to the snowman, we first need to pass the door. The door.
The door?
The door.
What is the door?
The door is everything. All that once was and all that will be. The door controls time and space, love and death. The door can see into your mind. The door can see into your soul.
Really? The door can do all that?
No.
Door! All right. What do I think about the summit? I think that they purposefully let the people that were not participants in the Drifter wormhole decide whether or not the people who participated in the Drifter wormholes should share the technology with those who did not participate with the Drifter wormhole, and now the people that participated in the Drifter wormholes are pissed. Yes, that's the door to the captain's quarters, correct. Yes. Concord may put the vote up. Well, actually, this was SOE. Yes, no, don't get me wrong. I think it's actually really interesting. And it's going to be fun to see how the players react to this. Because so far the players have been playing, like the Trig players especially, have been kind of playing along. This really does feel like a total setup. Total setup. You know, there is a weird problem now with editing. So there's a problem with remodeling ships now that they didn't used to have. And CCP is going to have to figure out a way to fix it one way or another. Which is the... Yeah, player skins. Like... CCP published skins, they can double check them, they can correct them if they need to, whatever. But player built skins are very well customized to the model that already existed. So every single player skin, like, you could just reapply the skin onto that new Kestrel, but the chances that it'll look as good is extremely low. Right. So, well, I mean, Nyko, that is one solution, but that's my point, is that whatever happens, there needs to be some kind of solution to that, whether or not it is. And a refund token is one solution, but it's not a perfect solution. There is no perfect solution. What's the news of the day? The news of the day is that Edencom fucked the Triglavians during the entire event, and the Triglavians are pissed because now Concord with a mustache, Concord with a beard, Concord with glasses on, and Concord with a suit voted 4 times to the Triglavians 1 time to share all of the information with everybody. That's what happened. I'll let you guys decide which of those 4 groups is Concord with a mustache, Concord with a beard, Concord glasses, and Concord with a suit on. You can decide which one's which. I would give access to old model with anybody who has a skin for it. Can't do that. Like, that is now, like, Michael, that would be the single most technically expensive way to do that, because now, right now, every ship only has 1 model. Concord suit and mustache voted with Trig. Concord the bull cut wasn't there. It is funny because, like, ultimately the group that won was the Galente. Concord the beard is an avatar. All Garissa's ships, Serpentis, etc., needed their own design, like Sancha and Angel. Well, except for there's actually really good lore reasons why certain empires look like... There's a reason why Garissa's ships look like Caldari ships. It would actually not make sense. In fact, I would argue it would be outright bad for them to change the Rattlesnake to have a unique design. The Rattlesnake needs to look like the Scorpion, because the Garissas accuse the Caldari of stealing the Rattlesnake's design to make the Scorpion. If you go look at the Rattlesnake's description, in the time-honored tradition of pirates everywhere, Karako the rabbit Kosakami shamelessly stole the idea of the Scorpion-class battleship to put his own spin on it. The result, the fearsome Rattlesnake, flagship of the large Garissas attack force. There are, of course, those who claim that things were the other way around, that the notorious silence surrounding the Scorpion's own origins is, in fact, an indication of it having been designed by Kosakami all along. So Garissa ships specifically look like Caldari ships because either they stole them from Caldari or Caldari stole them from them. Serpentis ships specifically look like Galente ships, so that way Serpentis ships can smuggle their stuff. It's designed to blend in, right? They're designed to be confused with the main ships. Blood Raider ships look like Amar ships because they hijack Amar ships and they convert them. Only Sancha, who was like Sancha's Nation, who was a... Remember, Sancha's Nation made his fortune... Sancha Kuvaki made his fortune as an arms dealer during the first Galente Caldari War. He has enough money and enough military industry to develop his own ship designs. The Angels, who largely use their stuff off of Jovian stuff and their own weird concoctions, all look their own style. EOM is... So again, like the EOM and the Blood Raiders are in a way almost like cult offshoots of the Amarian religion. I don't need to go there. So it makes sense that they're converted. Which, by the way, EOM is really fun because it's Amar ships that use shields and blasters. I think that Sancha Destroyer... That is actually... Ooh! That's something that should go on the... on our prediction board. I don't know if we should call it a... I've only got a few options. I've only got 5 things written so far for the bingo card, guys. If we're going to do bingo cards, we got to give me some ideas, okay? So we've got carriers, PI, Trig Hauler, Skinner improvements, T2 capitals, Sancha, BC, and Destroyer. What else? What else? I get it from the lore, but boring, hands down, best team and art design team. Turn them loose on the designs. Well, I mean, they've got plenty of things to work on when it comes to that. They don't necessarily need to work on old ship designs to show their stuff. I think that it's important for like universe storytelling for things to kind of match. Okay, T3. I'm just going to put down T3. T3. Should we do T3 frigates? T3 frigates. Message from drifters. Drifter. Drifters talk. Drifters speak. Drifters speak. We'll just say drifters speak, and that'll cover any kind of communication from the drifters whatsoever. They have you guys seen they did a Ragnarok redo. Hold on. Back in the day, or a few years ago, they showed so we're gonna go with faction war, nullsec faction warfare, nullsec back war. Okay. World Arc. All right, we'll just put World Arc just in case. Not just player World Arc. We want to keep it open a little bit. Mordu Destroyer in BC. Mordu ships. Mordu Desi in BC. Old agent missions rebuilt. Agent missions. We'll just do agent missions. Well, I'm saying World Arc because that way it'll cover, like, if they do some other kind of update to the World Arc. I'm leaving it open as a... I'm trying to leave some of these slots as being kind of like they might be able to be fulfilled in a way that we didn't necessarily expect. Old agent missions rebuilt from the ground up would be pretty cool, but Mordu in Faction Warfare LP Store. I'm telling you, one of the biggest things that CCP could do to make the game better right now, one of the simple things that they could do, is release an Upwell, release an Upwell LP Store, and have that be the primary reward for fighting against the counterinsurgents, and put, like, ore stuff in there and Mordu stuff in there. Now, putting ore stuff in there would be bad, like, hard. You'd have to, like, make it so that you either only get BPCs, or the BPOs that you get from that are going to be way more expensive than if you get them straight from ore, because you don't want to devalue those BPCs. Those are some of the most expensive BPCs in the game. Rogue Geckos. Deathless bring in third pirate faction. I just realized something. Wait a minute. I just realized something. Wait. I don't know why I didn't realize this. So, like, for years, I predicted that Deathless was going to come out with his own ship line, right? And it was going to be a cross between the Mimitar and the Caldari. The Deathless is, showed up. It is Mimitar and Caldari. But the ship line doesn't use that, right? Oh, never mind, it does. Okay, well, Deathless ships. We'll just put Deathless ships on there. More Deathless ships. I'm dumb. They did it right. Or command destroyer style mining booster. Opening of Jove space. We'll just put down Jove space. Ash gets restful sleep before streaming. Look, I don't want to get something that can't be gotten. Okay, that's just not fair. Pochvin. What do we do? Edencom invade Pochvin? Deathless ships being shield counterparts to SOE ships? SOE ships would be fun. Oh, like with like a shield Logi? I still want... You know what I want? I want an Edencom Logi ship that uses chain heal, like a goddamn shaman in space. Cheetah attack. That may not be talked about during the thing, but maybe. Shield combat exploration frigates. Shield combat exploration frigates. Doesn't the pacifier exist? Man, the Corax has always been such a lackluster ship for what it is. Capital Expert Systems, get out of here. I'll just put it on Edencom Logi. A boat's just a boat, but a pacifier can be anything. It could even be a boat. The deathless version of the Astero. Do we really need... I think that we have plenty of exploration ships right now. We don't really have a good angle for an exploration ship. No, I don't... Man, I get people being, like... I don't know, cynical. But I think that the idea of capital expert systems flies in the face of anything anyone's ever thought about. Ooh, Cosmos missions. What if Cosmos missions get updated? Oh boy. I would love a ship that isn't drone-based for combat frig ships, OSIGs. For what? For combat exploration? Well, I mean, I guess. The problem is that exploration ships always have to give up a whole bunch of their high slots, so that's one of the reasons why they like to rely on drones. Abyss updates? No one's getting a bingo out of this list, by the way, guys. I mean, I hate to say it. Like, these are all really cool ideas, but the idea that enough of these cool ideas get brought up during the keynote, y'all are fucking some optimistic people, let me tell you. Rein in your expectations just a little bit. No one's getting a bingo with this list of shit of improvements. New T2 battleship that works as a pocket carrier. Heavy bombers, anti-capital heavy bombers. Five high slot exploration ship with 3 utilities. What's the problem with the pacifier? I'm confused. Because it's the pirate agent Eve, I think they'll do 2 pirate ships. How the fuck did you guys know? That, I mean... Hey, I won't be upset. I won't be upset if this becomes the list of what they talk about. I wouldn't be mad even a tiny little bit. Remove the jump down. Again, these are very cynical things. Removing the jump clone cooldown for Plex. Yikes. PI rework was my number 2 thing, Jeff. We did put carrier, so let's put Titan too. We'll put Titans. Free 1,000 Plex for everyone who logs in on the weekends. I would not be surprised if they started doing like Plex for like drops and stuff. Or, I mean, they put 100 Plex in the event this track, so that's a pretty big. That's the biggest chunk of Plex that they've just given away. I mean, the idea that every account can currently get 300 Plex for 30 hours of work is pretty crazy. Rock mining is currently happening. One more in Zarzak constellation. I want to see the black hole closer up. Oh yeah, we could just do. Let's just put Zarzak just in case. If Zarzak comes up, who knows? Oh shit, Sleeper Force just spawned. Mining rework, what a... Yeah. I love... Man, Jeff, like, a Plex Goblin spawns in the site, and you're like, I gotta scrap it! Module to increase wormhole mass to allow Titans and supercarriers into some wormholes. Alright. Oh, yeah, I guess that's fair. Mining. Rework. That's true. He does say that mining residue sucks. It's not a. It's a wish list. It is. It is. Yeah, people aren't guessing what they think is going to happen. They're guessing what they want to happen. Rework combat utility drones? Never. Never gonna happen. People hate drones too much. I mean, honestly, Residue is pretty fine. It's just... It's all psychology. I think that the problem with Residue, honestly... and I've said this for a while, I think that the thing that's would be useful about Residue, well, Brave Steel Dragon, that in my opinion proves that Residue is at least on one level or another doing the right thing, because you know other people are doing Tech 2 for their own reasons or whatever, but the fact that somebody who has access to Tech 2 could still have reason to use Tech 1, I think is a good thing. That there are conditions in which it's good to use one thing, and there are conditions in which it's good to use another thing. Like that, just on the surface, is not a bad thing. And I do like the idea that like the faster you're strip mining, the less careful you're being with strip mining. But this goes back to the thing that I think is missing in all mining in EVE, and has been missing for a long time, which is a fundamental thing that is about, like, when you're mining in real life, when you're looking for resources for extraction in real life, the actual extraction process is such a small portion of it, right? So we have extraction and we have refinement in our system. But you know what we don't have? Prospecting, right? I want the ability for and there is like the ability to scan the rocks to see where how much ore is in each rock, but I think that there should be abilities to have either a module or a ship or a buff or whatever that allows you to get more out of the resources that are there, because you become better at picking out the valuable stuff without destroying non-valuable stuff. So even if it's like, at its lowest, a tether or like a boost that reduces waste. But I would honestly rather have, like, wouldn't it be cool? Because another thing to think about is, like, let's look at missions, okay? Missions are very good for high-powered ships. The higher the power of the ship, the better off it is. Marauders can actually make a pretty good amount of ISK doing missions. But if I'm doing it, like, let's say we're having a mission night and we have people that are brand new to the game or relatively new to the game. They're not necessarily going to come in combat ships. They're certainly not going to come in Marauders. So often the relationship between, newer players and older players when it comes to missions is that the newer players do salvaging, right? So you salvage up the wrecks, and often, because the mission runners focused on the missions and all that stuff, all of that salvage is just extra value, and you can just clean up after me, right? So in the same way, we have a weaker ship that's hanging out with a stronger ship, and like a shark and their little fish is like cleaning up, getting the little pieces that the big shark leaves behind, and that makes everybody okay. So in the same way, what if the Venturer had a special module that it could run, that any waste that occurs within a radius of it scoops up, or it scoops up a percentage of it. So now, as long as you have Ventures around you to help scoop up that waste, you can be as wasteful as you want. Bring out your excavators. We've got you've got the rock wall with the excavators going out, and you've got like 3 or 4 different Ventures all sitting there hoovering all of the extra stuff. Because just the waste off of a single excavator drone is going to be enough to support a Venture, right? I think that there's some potential there where it comes to like the relationship between the material and the mining process, besides just like, oh, let's put a captcha on mining, or let's whatever. When I was new, my biggest income was scanning down mission runners to loot their abandoned stuff. Absolutely great. I think that we're going to see some pretty significant wormhole changes. There's a Mercoxic damage cloud spawn mechanic, could do that, but rather than damage, it's a slag cloud that needs vacuuming up. Yeah! Man, yeah, I remember when I did my alpha program at the very beginning. No! Shit, now I can't remember. Yeah, I did my alpha program at the very beginning, and I wanted to see how far I could get without spending any money. And so I put together, like, a cheap probe and went out there and found, like, 5 Tech 2 drones on a gate. I think that the ability to generate wormholes might be hard. The ability to stabilize wormholes or collapse wormholes better might be okay. Like, what if there is a deployable that you could deploy a wormhole, deployable on a wormhole to either cause it to go critical, so you don't have to do the, you know, Gnosis jumping through over and over thing, or you could put it down and stabilize it to make sure it lasts for longer. What if, like, somebody jumps in and starts anchoring one of these things so that way their invading fleet can come through? If Amar is keeping their wormhole, what are you looking at? A static high-sec wormhole? Well, these wormholes connect to any systems with Jovian observatories. I don't actually... That's a good question of what is actually going to be the nature of these wormholes when this is all said and done. We don't actually know. I just want resource wars back when it comes to mining. Well, technically speaking, those wormholes do connect to all kinds of different kinds of space. Any chance there will be changes to Thera? Why not? We'll just put it on the list. Thera. I mean, it is the Sisters of Eve. They might mention Thera without even talking about changes, and it'll still get the bingo slot, so it'll be fine. The 10-year space vet station that is only accessible. Yes! Yes, Brad. Brad, you get fucking credit, man. What? Tell me that you're an old vet without telling me that you're an old vet. Man, how long ago was that? Because, okay, I'll put it this way. When the 10-year-old vet space station was first talked about, I was like 3 years old. Oh, okay, well then never mind. It's even older than that. Yeah, honestly though, I do think that special stations that have standing requirements that also have their own LP stores with specialty rates and special things on them is a really cool idea. Because I've talked about before, like, I would love to see it where if you get plus 10 or plus 8 with a specific corporation, that's what allows you to buy that corporation's skins. And then you can sell them on the market or whatever. But now that you've gotten that standings, you are like the supplier of that skin for New Eden, because other people that don't have that standing can't buy those skins from the LP store, even if they already have the LP, right? And so, but that's a hard thing to do. Like, CCP have told me that there is nothing about the LP store that they can tie to standings, but you could tie docking in the station with the LP store to standings. So what if each of the empires, like, they're maybe not the one that's already there, like the Anchorage or whatever, but maybe there's a new structure in each of the headquarters in which you can only dock in if you have a certain amount of standings with that faction warfare group, and there are special rewards that are only available for those people based on what rank you are within the faction warfare. Elite Dangerous is a star system you can only access with an endgame player with time in. Yeah, I mean, it would be really cool for something to do with CCP, but it would be a giant waste of resources unless they, like, make a smart reason why it makes sense. it wasn't a fully realized game when they tried to integrate. And not only that, but they made decisions in Dust 514 that made it almost impossible to fully integrate it. One of the most prominent Caldari players, Ramella, who has also made 45k points in the race for the highs, has put out a post on the forums calling for the state to ignore the vote. Fuck yeah! That's right, baby! Reject the vote! I knew I liked her. Ramella's the her, right? I think. Hashtag reject the vote. We're gonna get in like real life trouble. Oh boy, I need 40 more points. 2 more sites, guys, and I'm done. 2 more sites and I'm done. Would be cool to see Speed made more reasons to fly in the first person. Ooh. See, first person was made on a lark. I just want to make sure you understand that. From Ramilla Matilla. Malit. Oh god, I'm going to mispronounce it. So I'm just going to go Ramilla. Ramilia. As a this is somebody, by the way, that you guys should respect. I mean, like, as much as we like, she puts a lot of work in the Eve and helping out the state, and is not an asshole about it, just so we know. As a citizen of this Caldari state, I cannot stay silent in the face of what I consider to be a grave misjudgment. The outcome of the recent Drifter Summit hosted on Jita 44 by the Sisters of Eve, and specifically the advisory vote on the open source findings recovered from the Drifter hives, represent a dangerous departure from reason. There is no room for sentimentality or utopian thinking when it is dealing with the technologies recovered from one of the most hostile and enigmatic threats New Eden has ever faced. The Drifters are not a mystery to be solved through crowdsourcing. They are an existential threat, and the knowledge extracted from those hives carry risks far beyond the comprehension of most civilian and independent actors. To release such data openly is to invite disaster. We already live in a cluster riddled with malicious actors. The Angel Cartel, the Gristis, the Deathless, all waiting, watching, eager to exploit the smallest breach in our security. These are not hypothetical concerns. These organizations have shown time and time again that they will not hesitate to exploit any advantage that they can get in order to advance their agendas. We saw how close we came to such calamity during the recent race to breach the Drifter hives, where the Angel Cartel nearly seized a breakthrough that could have tipped the balance across entire regions. It was only through the decisive action of the Amar Empire and the diligent researchers at Hydeon that this outcome was averted. The lesson is clear. Containment and strategic management, not public release, is the only reasonable path forward. I therefore urge all parties currently occupying and pacifying the Drifter hives, do not entertain the results of that vote. You must not risk the future of New Eden for the sake of idealistic openness advocated for the loose collection of misinformed independent pilots. Instead, I fully advocate for a controlled and secure joint research program involving only those with proven capabilities, those who have managed to seize control of these hives to date. It is they who have been entrusted with managing this ongoing crisis, not freelancers, not rogue states, and certainly not the lawless gangs who would use such knowledge to accelerate our destruction. Let us not confuse transparency with wisdom. There are some things too dangerous to openly share. This is one of them. Well, I, I didn't think I'd be saying this today, but Ramilla, welcome to the collective. We appreciate militia. My dyslexic brain is melting by looking at what you said. You said the same thing twice, right? Was it militia? Drifter faction ships introduced. Capsuleers can evolve to become drifters permanent. New drifter specific skills. I mean, new drifter specific skills. I don't know about this whole capsuleers can evolve to become drifters. That doesn't make any sense to me. I do think it's funny that it's like the unspoken thing is here, right? To undermine what they're saying a little bit is like the unspoken thing in this message is, hey, don't let the Galente have it, guys. Drifter ships who are based on stats or based on attributes instead of skills. I think that CCP has talked many times before about removing attributes. And I think that they should work on that. Must play for 10 years to become a drifter. I hate... Man, let me tell you. You want to know... You think that the Triglavian collective right now is mad? Make it so that you can become a drifter officially before you can become a Trig officially. Let that be a thing that happens and watch how fucking mad some of the most loyal Eve players in the entire game get. That would be... Burn Kino. Removing them as an SP gate accelerator, sure, but making them for something else would be cool. Eh. You want an attack on the 6th of you want an attack on Jita on the 6th? Declare that you're going to be able to become a drifter and not a Triglavian. The collective will be in Jita by, like, that afternoon. You want to become a rogue drone? Drifters are in the game for 10 years. 5 years longer. 5 years longer. Well, 4. Drifters are 2015. Trigger 2019. You mean... this official post by the CCP Tumblr back in the day? I don't think that they should actually entirely remove attributes. I like the flavor that they provide, but removing them from influencing training is a good idea. I just don't... I mean, like, we'll see what it would even mean if they didn't influence training. The own meme that you made? And send it to me and I'll pull it up. Remove implants from your head with Plex may come. Y'all talking about making new services for Plex. Honestly, I don't think CCP should be adding new extra... We don't need to add any new extra things for Plex right now. If anything, that last report shows that CCP is concerned with the number of things that are available for Plex right now. There we go. Perfect. No notes. 10 of 10. Good job. They stopped posting on now.eveonline.com 3 years ago. We don't want gold ammo, but it's kind of funny to meme about it. Is it funny to meme about it? I've argued before, there is actually, like, there are methods in which it could be perfectly okay for gold ammo to exist. I don't think that necessarily means that it should. But as long as it's openly tradable, who cares? My experience with Eve will say that they'll have one really cool idea that everyone will love, but once it gets implemented, everyone will hate it. What a unrisky prediction. They've never tried to actually do gold ammo. Random Sack, what you just talked about is a fundamental, like, piece of how Eve Frontier works. Titans that shoot carriers? Y'all nuts. Gold damage boosters from premium packs were a thing. Quickly removed other players in CSM Backlash. The only gold damage boosters I remember were like the starter boosters. Are you talking about those? Because there were boosters that could only be used on accounts that were 30 days old. And those got removed finally. But that was more because people were using it on like ganking alts and stuff. Faction scripts for various modules? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know what a faction script would do. Because, like, yeah, I don't know what a faction script would actually do, like, mechanically. T2 reactive armor hardener would be pretty fucking cool. What if you could write your own script? Well, like, so the way that scripts work is if a module affects multiple things actively, then the script can make it so that it shuts off the other things and only influences that one. And therefore increases its effectiveness. So it's a trade-off. I guess faction could make that trade-off better. But I don't feel like it adds that much. You know what I do like? I still love the idea they talked about before of faction stuff functioning almost like set items. So if you use faction modules on faction ships, they're more effective. Like you have almost like a set bonus. Kind of like pirate implants, but you know, whatever. So like if you have Federation Navy plates on a Federation Navy Vexor, it'd be good. They've talked about that before. Yeah, a Hilo with C3Xs. Make it so customs offices require fuel, so Omega guys don't own 80% of customs offices. The reason why one group owns 80% of the customs offices is because nobody's taking it from them. That has, like... Eve... Remember, if you don't want things to be the way they are in Eve, we got to do something about it. The fact that one group owns all the POCOs is our fault, not CCP's. Yeah, you're right. You could do faction scripts that, like, only... Thank you. Faction scripts could be more effective in their one direction. Like, the Caldari Navy could release a tracking speed script. Or, sorry, the Galente could release a tracking speed script, and the Caldari could release a optimal range script. pirate subsystems for T3 ships. I want, and this goes back to something that Fonsui used to talk about a lot. I agree with him. I want a new T3 subsystem, weapon subsystem, for each of the 4 T3s that allow them to fit an entropic disintegrator. Yeah, exactly. Caldari Navy optimal range script. That could work. Yeah, I'm not putting anything... That is a good question. So, like, here's my question for you guys. Do we think, like, the Vanguard announcement is that Vanguard's going to go live forever now? Do you think we're that close? Do you think do you think it's too early to think that? Because they did a whole bunch of different tests. It's probably too early for that, honestly, right? It's too early? Yeah, it's probably too early. They certainly need to do more tests. It's been, what, 5 months? It's been 5 months since our last, like, organized, like, an actual, we get to play around with it, Vanguard test. Well, the problem, like, what does it mean to release it into early access? The problem is that, like, not the problem, but, like, part of the thing is that Vanguard is already fully integrated into EVE Online. Yeah, especially with what they've been talking about, like, they definitely want it to be way more than just an extraction shooter. So there's a lot more to it that needs to come out. They started the current project in 2023. I don't think that's true. Well, it all depends on what you define as the current project, I guess, and what it means by starting it. The new Foundation Day pack has gold ammo. Vorton projector. Eden Com ships. Did we already put that on there? I put Eden Com Logi. Oh. Hmm. Yesterday, we introduced the Foundation Pack, including a Wisdom and Ganok booster. After listening to community feedback and consulting with CSM, we agreed that the boosters exclusively tipped the balance unfavorably. This was not our intention, and we appreciate the passionate feedback we received from you. Effective immediately, the Wisdom of Ganok booster has been removed from the Foundation Day Pack. However, those who have already purchased the pack will not have the booster removed. We value your input. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. That feels more like they were quick to remove it. %4 energy turret damage, 7% armor repair, 3% max velocity. Well, okay, but that's also so that's also probably because it's only because they said we agree that the booster exclusively tipped the balance unfavorably. So the fact that this only supports energy turrets and armor repair, like there's plenty of other boosters. But I guess they're not part of sales packs? Well, they've said that, like, Vanguard is supposed to be a lot more than just an extraction shooter. It's just the extraction shooter portion, or, like, chunk of it is, like, meaty enough to build off of. But, I mean, what that exactly means, I don't know. I've also never... I do like the idea of dynamic maps for Vanguard. Third Decade Collector's Edition. Aren't we like 6 years early for that? There already is full integration with Vanguard. There's been full integration between EVE and Vanguard since day one. Or, well, since test one. I guess it depends on what you mean by full integration, actually. I suppose right now EVE doesn't influence Vanguard, but Vanguard influences EVE. Well, there is the insurgency thing is the big feature, yeah. Or is the big link. Okay, that's fair. But what would full integration... they want to tie it to skyhooks. That would definitely probably help. I'm telling you guys, I think that we're going to get more connections with skyhooks, more connection with deployables and all kind of stuff, and more things that cause new conditions in space, like anarchy, because that seems to be the direction that they need to go. Did Vanguard cause anarchy? No, I don't think it did. Both markets should be fully integrated. Well, yeah, they don't even have a market on Vanguard's side yet. I do say, like, I will agree. There needs to be a resource in Vanguard that needs to be extracted for the use of EVE Online. Like, that would be a big one. The ability to buy and sell Vanguard pieces in the main EVE market. So now, like, what if instead of having to deploy Chris chips, you could just buy Chris chips on the EVE market to use in your Vanguard, and then the materials in Vanguard are required for some new detail? I think that would be pretty fucking integrated at that point. But I'm telling you guys, the main thing I want from Vanguard right now is new and alien environments, like being able to see things that we haven't been able to see otherwise. The inside of an arcology, a drifter, or, you know, a sleeper enclave, a Terran, or, you know, or not Terran, but like a city, an occupied city of the within the empires, right? That would be cool. Things that are like, the value to me of Vanguard is it gives us a new perspective into the universe. And I want that new perspective to actually provide us something, being able to see something that we wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. Right now we get the inside of a broken bowhead. CCP doesn't want to have people feel the need to jump into the other game to grind resources so they can play the preferred game. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's why you do it on the market, Jeff. Right? Like, by that same argument, people need to mine tritanium in order to build their stuff. No, they don't, because that's what the market's for. If you don't want to play Vanguard, that's fine. Buy it from the people that are playing Vanguard. If they made it so that you could transfer the stuff without the market, then yes, you would have to grind it yourself. But as long as there's a fully functionally, you know, if you could just, if it was integrated on the player market, so that way in the EVE market you could both sell Chris chips and stuff for the shooter, as well as whatever material resources need to be extracted from the shooters. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because you could be like, I've had this conversation with so many other people. I don't want to have to do that in order to do this. I don't give a shit. You don't have to do it. Somebody else does. You have to pay them. Like, that is the economy of EVE. Every time that they made an industry change back in like the scarcity era, I had that exact same conversation with people, right? Like, I don't want to have to mine R4 moons in order to build battleships. I don't want to have to do reactions in order to build battleships. All right, well, you don't have to. You just have to buy reinforced carbon fibers from people who have. Problem solved. Shut up. So close. Eve players are boomers. They'll get mad as hell when you tell them they have to play an extraction shooter for good reason. LML. Sure. So Eve, as we know it today, market and freedom of choice. Exactly. It's just another, that's the thing. And that's the key behind the way that they've conceptualized Vanguard, and why the way I think that they should continue to conceptualize Vanguard, which is not as a separate game, but as a separate, just a different way of playing Eve, right? You may not like exploration, but guess what? Resources come out of exploration. You may not like planetary interaction, but guess what? Things come out of planetary interaction. If it takes 1 hour of effort in Eve for 20 hours of effort in Vanguard, you put pressure on people to move to Eve O to grind resources. Jeff, that's market decisions, though, right? The value of your effort in Vanguard is going to be based on the availability of the materials and the people that are doing it. 1 hour of effort in Eve, where? 1 hour of effort mining in HiSec is not the same as 1 hour of doing Abyss, Tier 5 Abyss. 1 hour of effort doesn't mean anything. There will be people, there may be times, here's the thing, Jeff, there may be times in which, yes, one of the best ways for you to possibly make ISK in Eve is by doing Vanguard. So? There are better ways of making ISK. There are other things to do. If you want to be so wrapped up in that, that's on you, man. Because it makes the wrong decision during game design, it can cause issues. Yes and no. I mean, it can be adjusted. I think that you're right. It could theoretically, like, that could represent a momentary lack of balance, but it is something that could be changed. It's not a permanent state. And it's also like, there is a certain amount that people are going to be upset, but who cares? They're going to get over it. One person's pain is another person's opportunity. That's something I've been talking about, like we've been saying over and over again for the last couple of days. I'm glad that they decided to back away from that universal weapon in Vanguard. I want a proper rocket launcher. They have always said that Vanguard is going to have multiple weapon systems. It was never, ever, ever about the one weapon system. They're just using that as a way of, like, creating a vertical path. I think Vanguard is a far more broader community. That's why it's an FPS. So even, let's say 1 hour in HiSec is equal to 5 hours in Vanguard, doesn't mean that player will automatically move to Eve to grind. I think that if people decide to switch from one to the other for economic opportunity, I think that that can only be seen as a win. Even if it's done begrudgingly, that is the market forces having control over things, right? That's somebody seeing an opportunity and seizing that opportunity, and they're making a decision. They can decide whether or not they want the maximum value or they want to spend the time how they want to, right? I think it's fine. Why did they put fitting in that weapon then? That's kind of confusing. Well, they've already said that they want that kind of customization on different kinds of weapons as well. And also, if you're building a vertical path, that's just an easier way of expanding out, right? So you're developing something, you have one weapon, and now you have one weapon that you can have be different things, and now you can, like, create different baselines. Seems like overkill. Have you played EVE Online? Overkill is like the name of the game when it comes to customization in EVE Online. They don't need to reinvent the wheel so much. Have you played EVE Online? This is what they do here. The way it was done in Dust was perfect. I mean, besides the fact that they gave away free missile launchers, I agree with you. Death to free missile launchers. But that's the thing, like, so now we have an idea of what an autocannon would look like with modifications. So now the question is, what would a laser look like with modifications? Except they'll do the Eve fitting window again. I mean, you know. Maybe. They did Eve fittings. Look, I'm just glad it's not like Dust where you have to get like a copy, like well, I guess you kind of do because you lose Chris chips when you die. But like the fact that you had to make your whole loadout and then have like a whole bunch of extra copies of your loadout, so that way every time you die, you could use another set of your equipment, was a giant pain in the ass in Dust. Don't get me wrong. But as you can see, some people prefer that. There's pros and cons for sure. I know that. Did you ever see the Nova presentation from eVegas 2015? I don't know which one you're talking about per se, Jeff, but I can tell you right now. Wait, Eve 2015? I was at the Nova presentation at Eve Vegas 2015. I'm pretty sure. I was in Eve Vegas, I think in 2015 and 2019. Might have been 2016 or 2019. A lot of that presentation looks like it could be Vanguard assets. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. I did see your post about the Paragon Hub. Let's do this now. Ooh, yeah! No, that was the announcement of Citadels. I was at the announcement of Citadels, whatever year that was. So, guys, you might be lucky. Give me a second. Check this skin out, guys. This thing is sweet. So, we've got the gold stripes on the top. We've got the teal and black, which I love teal and black. It's my personal, like, combination color bonus. So, nice. And you've got the little Deathless logos. This is a very, very nice ship skin. So, what we're going to do... So, remember, tomorrow and the next day, we're going to have this Synesis and the Sestero available for giveaways tomorrow and the next day. But today, just now, right now, for you guys, we're going to try to do a giveaway for the Kikimora. We're gonna see whether or not I can still do this, okay? So hold on. Give me a second. Just give me a few seconds to see if I can get this set up. Uh-oh, I'm already... Congratulations, you guys get to be part of this. One of you is going to win this skin. This is, by the way, 100% Punchinello has decided to do this. He made these skins. He created them himself with his own creative mind, with all of his own parts. He paid for them, and he sent them to me. So 100% thank you so much to Punch, one of our skindustrialists, for this awesome, awesome opportunity. Let me figure out how to give it to you guys. Cloudbot. Can we do this? Giveaways. Oh my god, I can do it. It's been a while. It's been a while, guys. Hold on. Name. Kiki Skin. Permission everyone. Timer duration 60. Does this work? Does this work? What does this do? Okay. Exclamation point plunder to enter the raffle. You've got 1 minute to do it. Exclamation point plunder in the chat. We have 1 minute. Oh, no. Actually, it's 1 hour. Never mind. It's 1 hour. No rush. Just do what you can. Get everybody in it. Once we get everybody in it, then we'll get it started. Sorry, I thought I said it's 1 minute, but it's 1 hour, which is perfect. Let me pull that back up. Sorry. Brand new Kiki skin. Hot off the presses. We've got 18 people in so far. 100 people are in chat. Exclamation point plunder. For those of you who don't know, I used to... Okay, so when I used to do giveaways, we'll do this. I plunder the abyss while you plunder my skin collection. Exclamation point plunder for your chance to win a Kiki Mora skin. There you go. That's what I used to do. That's how this works. That's some Loru energy. Hey, hey, I did that long before Loru came into the scene. We'll give it 1 more minute. It's been 2 minutes. We got 22 people in. 1 more minute. Only those who are paying attention get a chance. I'm just glad all this works. 30 seconds. All right, about to close it. You've had plenty of chances. All right, closing it now. Everybody has a 1 in 25 chance to win. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Brave Steel Dragon. Brave Steel Dragon, if you X up in chat with your in-game name, we will get this to you. Brave Steel Dragon. There you go. I just need your in-game name. Dragon Lord Irontooth. Congratulations. Do you like the Kiki? All right, so I'm going to... We're going to see whether or not this works, guys. Okay, now that we've done this, we're going to try this the hard way. I'm going to buy this skin from him and then attempt to list it to you. So it's going to be... I'm going to have to list it to you for, like, the minimum that it is, okay? So we're going to work on this. We're working on this. He's got an Edencom medal. Wait. Nope. Nope. Get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Wait, where's my drones? There's my drones. All right. I'm going to try to buy this. Which should then make it in my collection. Which is right here. And then I can click on this. And I can sell it. And I can sell it to a specific target. This guy. For 10 plex. Let's sell it for 10 ISK. that work? List it for 2 weeks. Sell. Boom. Hell yeah! It worked! Guys, it worked. I think. All we need is you to pick it up and let me know whether or not it worked. Thank you so much. Time to reroll. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Glad that worked. Glad that worked. How's that, Punch? Is that... You got it, Brave? Outstanding. Mission success. Op success. Is that what you had in mind, Punch? So we're going to do that once tomorrow and once the day after tomorrow. So make sure that you are here. That's some heavy tax payment. Thanks for helping with the ISK sync. Hey, man. We're doing what we can. Yeah, the huge tax on that 10 ISK. Eesh. I should shave. Oh, the cost goes up for the duration listed. Oh, well, whatever. But that was it, right? That was what you expected to have happen, right, Punch? That was more or less what you were hoping for? Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you guys for helping participate. We will be doing this again for the next 2 days. Time to buy a Kiki? Quick, somebody tell me the market value of a Kiki. Anybody in Jita right now? Anybody have a marketeer? Anybody want to tell me what the value of a Kiki is? And with the Synesis one, I want to give you guys a transportation Synesis fully fit. No, it's got to be more, isn't it? Isn't it more than 30 mil now? Y'all are the worst. One of you is logged in at Jita. Nico, you good? Is that a solid answer? 40 million NMR. Done. Go buy yourself a Kiki. Well, I already put it in 40, so enjoy. Man, you guys play. There was a time where Kikis were 70 million ISK a piece. So, quite the opposite. Back when Stuka fleets were really, really popular, Kikis were easily 70 million a piece. It was insane. Well, Fitman one's like 90 million, but I gotta leave something for him to figure out, you know? The market does its thing. That's true. There was a period of time where Kiki BPCs were going for like 20 million a pop. It was wild. Kikis are probably the most versatile of all of the Triglavian ships. Has anybody tried their luck with the Foundry site in Losec? I have not yet. You know, maybe that's something that we should do. All right, Brave. We'll probably be wrapping up the stream here soon. I mean, I'm almost done. Oh, nope. I've done the track. We're finished. We have finished the track. So I think we're going to wrap things up here soon. So that way we give everybody time to rest for tomorrow morning. By everybody, I mean me. I imagine that they are a lot harder than the high-sec ones. I also imagine that they're probably going to be worth something like 200 to 300 million each, but we'll see. Or, you know, I don't know. If anybody wants to go out with me in some, maybe Drex today, we could go out and see whether or not we want to run some low-sec sites. I wouldn't mind doing that. I need some pilots to come with me, though. How many Corvettes would it take to do one of these sites? A lot. What time are you going live? Let's just expect that tomorrow I'm going to go live at my normal time, which is going to be exactly, basically, as soon as the Fanfest stream is over, I'm going to be getting ready. I should be able to go live. So we're going to try that tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. If we're all ready to be here as soon as Fanfest ends, so at our normal time, then if I start an hour late, then whatever. But I won't start earlier than that, so let's go ahead and just target the normal time. What is it? 1800? Right? Isn't it 1800? I don't even have my shields on. I think we should try tonight if we can. Why would we wait? Why wait if we can do it now? Keynote starts at 1600? Hold on. Hold on. Man, I can't wait till we get the War for New Eden, the board game. I don't know why that's taking so long. Where's the schedule? Oh shoot, there is other things for us to talk about today. Dang it, hold on. Here it is, found it. Oh. Okay, so yeah, it's 1600 to 1700 Eve. So, okay, no. So yeah, it would be, so yeah, I'm going to start at, never mind, that makes it easy. So we'll start at 1800 Eve time. Right? That's my normal time, right? Quick. Somebody tell me if I'm crazy. My normal stream time is 1800. That would be 2 hours and 43 minutes ago. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the stream tomorrow will start at 1800. That works. So now I don't have to make a decision. It is actually going to be an hour after the stream ends. That's good. That makes way more sense to me. Because now is the weekend and Snuff exists. Who cares? We don't have to go out in the middle of like Galente Losec. Just, you know, a small team of Drex should be fine. Besides, they're my Drex. Who cares? All right. We're going to set our final destination, start heading home. You overheat that Sino and everything's cool. They can't Sino into the site. It's dead space. Wow. Look at how many... So let's look at the distribution. Interesting. So I've been mostly doing stuff in Galente and Mimitar low sec, or in high sec rather. And you can see that I've gotten mostly Asdaja readouts and Sentinel, lots of Sentinels. So we've gotten 9 Sentinels, 2 Sanctified, 2 Conflux, and 8 Asdaja. So we have a guy who Thrans manages all of our opportunities and stuff. And one of the things we've been doing is buying these BPCs for people and then turning around and selling them to other people for to be able to use them for points and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things that he noticed was that Liberated Barbican was the hardest. Like we've been the lowest on that than any of them. And one of the reasons why we've been noting that is because if you look in opportunities, you can see that the Liberated Barbican. Oh, actually, well, no, they're fine now. For the longest time, the Liberated Barbican was the only one that wasn't close to finished, right? Now all of them are close to finished. But the Liberated Barbican has been struggling the most, especially after the Conflicts Eyrie. Yes, randomness is rarely uniform. That's correct. But but after getting a total of like 25 of these things, I've gotten 0 Liberated Barbican. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it won't stay that way when the tricks stop helping. That's true. But that's interesting. I feel like, like I said, my dude has been noticing this for a little while. Well, small sample, but we're talking about like all of the stuff that we've collected this entire time. And I've been running these sites now for 2 days and gotten half my track reward on it. You could say small sample size, but I think that we can already start to see a bit of an anomaly. There's clearly a difference between, like, I've gotten 2 Amar, 2 Caldari, and a whole bunch of Edencom and a whole bunch of Trig. Not a single Liberated Barbican. So tomorrow we're going to have the welcoming ceremony. And we're going to have... the welcoming ceremony is going to be fun. I can tell you that right now. So tomorrow I'm going to mostly be covering the welcoming ceremony, maybe economics. Yeah. We're going to do welcoming ceremony, economics, and the Eve keynote. That's what we're going to probably be covering tomorrow. Liberated only found in low-sec, maybe? Well, so what I'm thinking is, just if I was just to look at what I have and make some conclusions based on this, first of all, it's likely that the Asdaja are dropping from everywhere. Like, Conflicts is Caldari, so I have been in Galente space a little bit. Sentinel is also Edencom. And Amar, I was thinking that, like, since I'm maybe Amar filaments are dropping in Mimitar space more likely. So if we went into Amar space, maybe we would have gotten more Liberated Barbican. That's kind of the thought that I'm going, right? It could very well be that most of us are down in like the Galente Mimitar space area, which is why we're mostly getting that space's stuff. But Trig and Edencom might be available everywhere. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense. What would Caldari drop? Because there's no Galente ones. You've been doing it in Caldari space, and most of them have been Caldari filaments? Interesting. I don't know. Well, we also noticed that the ones in Liberated... The Liberated Barbican filaments are also a lot more expensive than you would expect them to be. Wonder what that NASA presentation will talk about. Neuralinks? Which one? The supermassive black hole one? Oh, the NIAC program. Dr. Ronald Turner, aka Fali Kalendor, and EVE Online has been supporting the NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts NIAC program since 2011. This far-reaching program is sometimes referred to as the NASA Dream Shop, funding studies of advanced concepts that border on science fiction but could offer real promise to change the future of aerospace. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark and say it has less to do with Neuralink and more to do with like advanced propulsion systems, like grav engines. What is that? What is that engine that like warps space-time to like make a dip in front of it so like it falls forward? That a lot of that some people say that Eve ships are kind of modeled off of. No, but there's like there's a name to it. There's a name to it. It's not just a warp, like that specific concept. I've seen a picture and it's like it tilts space so you fall forward. It's a drive. There we go. Thank you. That might be it. Yeah! That's exactly what I was talking about. Boop. This thing. Look, there's even an Eve advertisement. This drive. This is like a real science thing. It is a type of warp drive. That is correct. Look at the big brain on Bob. Y'all, some of you knew what I was talking about, though, at least. Yes. Clearly, nothing to do with how much I interact with Eve. Well, see, that's the secret, though, is that in Eve we have the peg that draws almost unlimited energy from subspace, so... Once upon a time, they said that there would take more energy than was in the universe to split an atom. Actually, I don't know if they necessarily said that. Well, no, they did say that at one point, but they also said that it would fry the atmosphere. How do you pronounce that? Hold on.
I chose Wix for my business because of its...
Shut up, ad.
Names.com.
Miguel Alcubierre.
Alcubierre drive. That's what it is. The Alcubierre drive. Thank you. I just realized I've been doing basically double audio all day again with desktop audio and EVE Online game. I'm still trying to get good at this, guys. But make sure to like the stream, consider becoming a supporter, consider becoming a member of the Convocation of Empyreans, share it with a friend. You'll get there one day, maybe. Maybe. Well, I can't hear, like, I'm not hearing it being doubled up. Consider buying merch. Like a duffel bag. Apparently those are good. So I've heard. From a very reliable source that I like a lot. All the possible paradoxes that could exist because this drive is basically a time travel machine. I mean, that's where it gets a little bit funny, huh? technically speaking, we're all time travel machines. We're just traveling through space-time at the rate of 1 second a second. The fact that it could break, like, it's less that it's a time travel machine and more that it could break, oh God, what's the name of that? One thing leads to another. Not consequence. Fuck. Is it causality? Well, like, okay. No. Yeah, I think it's just causation. It's the idea that, like, so if a signal could get to somewhere before light could get there, then somebody could decide to put up a mirror before it was even able to be there, even though, like, basically things can only propagate throughout the universe at the speed of light. And so you could theoretically have something be the cause and the effect. There's a turn. Hold on. Has anybody played Outer Wilds? First of all, that's a great game. Second of all, if you've ever played Outer Wilds, you can break causality. Is that what they just call it? Or does it just say breaking space-time? Yeah, violate causality. That's all it is. It's violating causality. That's the term I'm looking for. That's what it is. You could, in theory, travel somewhere and then turn around and see yourself leave. And that's a bad thing. The universe doesn't want to work that way. Bingo welcome ceremony, second decade, revenant, botting decrease. Botting. We should bring up botting. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Man, we are so close to having an actual bingo chart. We need a couple more things. We've got Carriers, PI, Trig Hauler, Skinner Improvements, T2 Capital, Sancha BC Destroyer, T3 Frigates, Drifter Speak, Nullsec Faction Warfare, World Arcs, Mordu, Desi and BC, Agent Missions, Deathless Ships, Jove Attack, Jita Attack, Jove Space, Jita Attack, Edom Cosmology, Cosmos Missions, Abyssal Updates, Titan, Zarzak, Mining Rework, Wormhole Changes, Thera, Botting, I'm going to put in quote most successful, just because I want to, like, just in case they try to play something up, you know, this has been the most successful patch or whatever. Quantum entanglement is instant. No, is also limited by speed of light. No, quantum entanglement is not a speed of light issue. Or like, yes, quantum entanglement theoretically could break causality, I guess. Google a video about Minkowski diagram. I like this stuff, but I am not prepared to talk like smart about it right this second. Do you have any lore videos explaining the drifter threats to current? Yeah, I have several lore videos over the last couple, like, so I have my lore speedrun, which is a few years ago, which was kind of everything that led up to what was going on in 2022. So the uprising and some of the beginnings of Deathless and stuff. And then I did another 8-hour video or 6-hour video or whatever, 7-hour video a couple weeks ago. Let's go look what it was called. Hold on. When you look at my videos, you got to look at the live videos, not the like edited videos, because those are going to be, there's not as many as those. But so then everything you need to know for tomorrow, Eve Universe show. That is a huge lore dump. Basically, it's everything from 2022 to now. And then who to support for the Nexus event is another 6-hour video where we go all the way back to the beginning and we talk about the lore. So, like, that one is the one about the Drifters, and specifically the relationship between the Drifters and the Amar, Kaldari, Mimitar, Triglavians, and Edencom. So those are the two big ones to watch. So you've got 14 hours. Yeah, everything you need to know for tomorrow is 8.5 hours long. And who to support for the Nexus event is 6 hours long. Look, there's a lot to cover, okay? And then that plus the speed run should basically catch you up with almost everything. Don't forget to like the stream. Feed the guinea pigs. My puppy's asleep right now. Most dreads killed ever. There you go. We'll just go most blank ever. What is the... Yeah, welcome ceremony and keynote. I think we got enough. Unless somebody wants to contribute some more, we've got some. Now I've got to figure out how to put them together. Frontiers... So the problem is that Frontiers and Vanguard and Eve Galaxy Conquest all have their own keynotes. So that's been one of my difficulties when coming up with this. It could be. We'll put surprise at Trig support. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. We'll put Eve Frontiers on there. But should I put Vanguard too? I don't know. I feel that one's a little bit... That is Eve. Make sure if you want to keep hanging out with us, we will be on the Discord. You are welcome to come take part, hang out. Join the convocation. You don't have to join the convocation to take part in the Discord if you want. You can just come and hang out. Also, if you've never done it before, make sure to get your 1,000,000 free skill points using the link down below or in chat. It gets you 1,000,000 skill points, and it helps support those who support the stream and the convocation. So maybe a better one instead of Frontiers would be non-Eve online projects. We could do new... Should we do new project? We'll just put new project. I don't know about any new projects coming out, but maybe they announced something new. Guys, you always say we rigged the lore outcome. This time it was Concord, not us. The damn Trig support you guys have shown. Well, this is a good example of like how they quote unquote rig it, where it's like you could argue that they rigged it by allowing those who did not participate in the event to vote on it. Oh, look, the people who didn't participate in the event voted to make it so that the stuff is available to everyone, even the people who didn't vote on the participate in the event. Who could have possibly have predicted that to happen? Like, I'm more than willing to entertain notions that CCP have used our own behaviors against us, but I would counter that by pointing out how often CCP horribly predicts our behavior, right? Like, it's so funny how often CCP demonstrate how little they understand us, which makes sense. I mean, like, they're having to make predictions. A lot of things can seem obvious after the fact, but like they get so many predictions about our behavior wrong, and yet we think that they are some masterminds that are manipulating things to make sure that the exact result that they want come out. Like, whatever, man. No, they roll with the punches the same as us. Okay, yeah. So there might be there should be a tourism fleet going on now if you guys want to get some points in the Discord. It is, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, CCP is a bit naive, which is why I think that the people that are like, oh, CCP is purposefully scripting all of these things, it's like they're barely keeping the tracks ahead of the train some of the times. They didn't predict that we were going to that EdenCom was going to take back Arshat. They just used that fact later to make it look like it was always the plan, right? Like, you just, that's what a good DM does. You just roll with the punches. You create ideas. Now, is it going to influence, like, obviously big name things, the actual tech that they're working on probably doesn't change, but the skin around it probably does. You think that they wanted the Galente to be completely left out of this event? Probably not, but they made it possible. Never going to happen. I wish they would announce we are stopping these constant sales. That is just, I mean, that's basic business. I think CCP does a better job of it than a lot of places, but I mean, at a certain point, they are a business running a free-to-play game, and honestly, we get a pretty good deal out of it, considering. Hey, sheesh. Yo. 07 to you. All right, guys. We are wrapping things up. Any last thoughts? Now's the time. But with all that said, I have been Astrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. There's been a lot of fun stuff to discuss, but tomorrow's the big day, guys. We're going to look at all the stuff that's announced. We're going to figure out what it means. We're going to be sad or mad or happy or whatever together. In the meantime, I recommend going and I advise you all, get involved with this whole thing. Obviously, the story's not over yet. You want to see a story that's scripted. Guess what? Ain't nobody going to expect the fact that there are currently actively several groups that are looking to thwart whatever's happening, because the Triglavians are quite upset at the results of this vote, and they're not alone in that fact. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens when the players push back. Price of product $20 and say it's always $25 discount. You could do that instead, say 15, and only do sales when it's really a discount. Well, first of all, I don't think that they can do the thing where it's always on sale. Like, that's not allowed. Yes, Caldari are also upset. That's true. I don't know of any examples of that per se. I've seen some things where something is on sale for a short period of time. Like, it'll only be available for 2 weeks, and they list it as on sale, even though it's never had a...
Docking request accepted.
No, they don't always, but they have sales and say Plex 3 out of 4 weeks. I mean, well, we talked about their relationship with Plex and trying to figure things out recently the other day. That's a whole topic, but I'm not prepared to necessarily debate that in one way or another at this exact moment. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out, and that is something we could look at more, especially given the fact that, like I said, CCP made a big deal about it with their dev blog earlier this week. That is the last of the track. I am done with the track, and therefore I am going to head out until we know more. So, all that said, I have been Astrothi, the voice of New Eden, and until we're talking about what's going on at Fanfest and we know a lot more, I'll just see you in space. 07. Make sure to check out... Oh, shit! No! Stop! Stop. 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 Fuck. Nope. There is a whole nother topic. Well, there's a topic we didn't discuss today. There's a topic we haven't discussed today. Speaking of sales and packages and stuff like that. Shit. Well, there goes all the concurrent viewers. All right. So, yep. Already lost 20% of people. That's fine. Whatever. Let's talk just a little bit. I do want to discuss just for a second. For the people that are still here. No. There is a sale right now. It's just, we are just talking about this, so, like, this makes sense. Hold on, is there a news post about this or not? I don't think there is, right? Yeah, there's just, oh yeah, no, here we go. Okay, so, they finally released the police skins that we've been watching. However, it isn't quite as straightforward as you would think. So I wanted to go over this real quick today. And I meant to do it earlier, but, you know, whatever. Okay. So, Capsular Day is underway with Fanfest 2025 just around the corner. We're celebrating you, the force behind New Eden. Hold on. Got it. Okay. So, they have, they're selling these police skins along with these new packs, and there are police skins that are available right now in the NES, right? But not all these things are created equal, okay? So let's pay attention to this. So here we have a Thunderchild, a Vargur, a Loki, a Legion, a Crusader, and a Stiletto. And then in the actual post here, at 1 month, you get a Purifier. At 3 months, they add a Heretic. At 6 months, they add an Oneros. At 12 months, they add a Rook. And at 24 months, they add a Vagabond. The big difference between these is, if we look here in the Hobo Leaks, we can see that these are the ones that were added 22 days ago. So the ones that are not on this list were already available previously in the game. So this includes the Paladin, the Heretic, the Purifier, the Coercer, the Oneros, the Catalyst, the Panther, the Saber, the Hound, the Vagabond, the Thrasher, the Basilisk, the Falcon, and the Rook, okay? So let's look at these. The Paladin appears to still be unknown. I can't find it anywhere, right? Does anybody know where the Paladin is available? It's not available on these packs. It hasn't been mentioned anywhere, so we don't have the Paladin yet. Heretic. Did the Heretic get in here? Yes, the Heretic is now the 3-month Omega item. What about the Purifier? Purifier is the 1-month Omega item. The Coercer, the Catalyst, the Thrasher, yeah, and the Thrasher, those are actually Twitch drops. So, did they talk about it here? Where do they talk about the Twitch drops? Does anybody have the piece? Because I saw somebody very, like, cogently describing when the Twitch drops are going to be. Hold on. Oh, wait. Hold on. Right now is... Right now is the Catalyst police skin. And this is going to be available until tomorrow. So today's the last day to do it. You got to watch it for 4 hours in order to get it. And then I know somebody had a list of when what drops. I know. Okay. This week is going to be all 3 of these skins or whatever. So like right now is 3.1, which is the Catalyst. And then on the 3rd is going to start the Thrasher. And then I think on the 6th is going to start the Coercer. And all 3 of these are brand new skins. We saw them like here they are getting added in Hobo Leaks. So make sure to be watching Twitch over the course of this next week for those. The Purifier Coercer Oneros is part of the Plex pack, right? Yep, the 6-month Plex pack. And then Panther is still unknown. We don't have one for the Panther yet. Like, it doesn't seem to be available yet. Hound? Has anybody seen the Hound? I haven't seen the Hound. Vagabond's in the sale pack. Basilisk, I haven't seen yet. Falcon, I haven't seen yet. Rook is in the Omega pack. So, and then if we go into here, I believe all of these, Thunderchild, Vargur, Loki, Legion, Crusader, and Stiletto, these are old, right? Like, I haven't bought this one, but if I go to my Legion, I already owned the Imperial Police skin. So I bought this one last year when it was available. So the ones in the Nest store, I believe, were the ones that were made available last year for whatever packs or whatever. And then the packs are, at least in part, of the ones that were put in this year. Let's actually hop over to Cheetah to see what's going on. No, the FanFest rewards for the purple-looking skins. It's like white with like a purple swirl on it. So we are looking for... Let's just look for the Paladin Police skin. Yeah. They have not yet released the Paladin one. They have not yet released the Saber one. And they have not yet released the Panther one. So some of the most popular ones, I would say, from this set have not been added to the game yet. So just to keep that in mind, you know, we did see the police skins, but just because you get the police skins does not mean it's the same as the ones that were added 22 days ago. We're still looking for some of them: Paladin, Saber, Hound, Basilisk, and Falcon, and Saber. But that's it. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure to go over that at some point today, because I know, like, we've been keeping track of those, and so I wanted to make sure to give you guys a heads up on what's going on, because it isn't quite clear what they were doing. So it took me a little while to figure out what exactly which skins are where and what that means. Hope that was useful to you. But there we go. I'm an Ashrothi, voice of New Eden, blah blah blah. See you in space. Hit up Punch for skins.
Bring on the wrecking machine. voices.